Hi, welcome to this webinar on HIPAA compliance. My name is Jonathan Ratner. I'm the CEO and founder of Tel-Arm Cybersecurity. I have an esteemed teammate here with me, Sarah Wolpin, head of cyber operations. Welcome, Sarah. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you,
Let
Jonathan.
me, my pleasure. Let me share my screen and get us started. Okay, I'm presenting. So HIPAA is a well-known thing, particularly for everybody in the medical, nursing home, anybody who's in these fields know that they need to be HIPAA compliant. But we're going to see today that it's broader than that. It's more than just hospitals and nursing homes. It's anybody doing business with them. We're going to talk about what it means, how to do it, how to do it in a reasonable way without making yourself crazy. So what is it? Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, in short, HIPAA. People sometimes misspell it HIPPA, but it's really HIPAA. Why your organization can't afford to ignore compliance. And before I go any further, I just want to say, as a cybersecurity guy, people use compliance as like, I don't want to do it, but I have to do it. And, having to do it is a good reason to do it. But one of the
It's not
things that we'll discuss tonight is that compliance is good guidance to show you what you need to do, but you need to do it anyway. And so that's one of the themes I want to share. So here's our agenda. I'm just going to introduce myself and the topic. What is HIPAA? HIPAA and cybersecurity. That's, of course, what we're focusing on here. The cost of non-compliance. You can't afford not to comply. I'll be happy to take any questions. So I have a master's from Boston University. I've been living in Israel since 1987. I founded a number of companies. I'm an educator. Been working in technology a long time. And Tel-Arm serves small and medium businesses in providing them with cybersecurity, essentially protecting your data. Because what we're going to see is there's a lot of bad guys that want to hurt you and take advantage of you and essentially put you out of business. And we're there. We understand that running a small business, I mean, I run a small business, and so I don't have time to do stuff that I don't need to do. I need to focus on running my business. So what we do is we sort of take it off your mind. We'll manage your cybersecurity so you can focus on running your business. Okay. So you're in the healthcare business one way or another. Probably you're a supplier to healthcare providers. If you really run a hospital or a drug company or something, you're probably not at my webinar. You're probably a smaller company that does business with healthcare providers. So you need to know that you're a target. You're a target because you're in the healthcare ecosphere. And so the hackers want to hurt you. It's a huge industry. Obviously, healthcare is growing. 92% of healthcare organizations experience a cyber attack. They're expensive. The bad guys make money on this stuff. I wrote here that evil is real and we live with savages. You have to recognize that, this is sort of an evolutionary strategy of bad guys to sponge off of the good guys. You have people who are working and earning an honest living, providing health care for sick people. What a wonderful thing. The bad guys see, oh, that's a way for me to steal. I'll steal data. I'll steal patient PHI, personal health data, and I'll sell it on the black market and I'll make money. And they're not going to get a job because they can earn a living as a cyber criminal. So cybercrime, it's not like, oh, we've solved this, we're past that. No, it's still growing, and it's out there and it can hurt you. 43 bar cyber attacks are on small businesses. So the fact that you're not, global, you're not huge, that doesn't protect you. They're going to every website and every user, and they're putting out their attack vectors. So you're in a battlefield. So you really want to be protected. Okay. So what is HIPAA? HIPAA in 60 seconds. HIPAA was enacted 1996. Clinton was president. It actually was called Kassenbaum and Kennedy. Ted Kennedy was part of it. Since then, things have been added to it. It was enacted to protect sensitive patient health information from being disclosed without the patient's consent or knowledge. Whenever I'm in the hospital, I see in the elevators it tells the doctors you can't discuss, private health information of the patients, here in the elevator because that would be an illegal disclosure. It applies to healthcare providers, health plans, healthcare clearinghouses, as well as, and this is really the point here, their business associates. which are called BA here. In short, anyone with access to personal health information, PHI, needs to adhere to HIPAA. And violating HIPAA can cause business risks, financial, you could pay a fine. We're going to look at that. Hurts your reputation, and it could sort of kill your business operationally. So we need to be HIPAA compliant. What does that mean? So key components of HIPAA, four main rules. And we've done the research and put it here for you. This is, publicly available information. I'm here to give it to you in a simple and concise way. So the privacy rule, when and how personal health information can be shared, including the requirement to sign a BAA, a business associate agreement with third parties, ensuring their compliance with HIPAA. So you're doing business, let's say with a nursing home or a hospital or whatever healthcare provider, and you are a business associate of them. So you need to sign agreement with them, but you need to sign agreement with the other third parties that you're doing business with. Because one of the main ways that the cyber criminals attack is through what we call supply chain. They're coming through the back door, through a company that has a connection to another company. That's how they're getting in. So HIPAA requires that all the business associates of the healthcare provider are also compliant with HIPAA. Number two is the security rule. Electronic health data must be protected through administrative, physical, and technical safeguards. And we're going to talk about each one of those three in a little more detail. Breach notification. If something happens, you got to let people know who must be notified in case of a breach. Number four is the enforcement rule, the procedures for investigations, and actual penalties. Okay. So again, we're focused tonight on cybersecurity. There's other aspects, but this is a webinar on cybersecurity requirements in HIPAA. So we start from the top, administrative safeguards. This is the CEO, the top management of a company setting their policies in order to comply with HIPAA. So what do they need to do? So the topics are risk analysis and management. We're talking about policies, procedures, and workforce training. Okay, risk analysis and management, conducting risk assessments, creating remediation plans, and having contingency plans for a case of breach. Bad things can happen. What will we do if that happens? So these are things we need to plan for in advance before they happen. Workforce training, as it sounds, is to train the people working for you on the HIPAA rules and how to handle the sensitive data. Like this is really famous right now. There was a breach, not even in healthcare, but like the top level of government in the U.S. They're having a meeting about who they're going to attack in Yemen, and they have reporters in on the meeting. So this is a violation of protocol. So you got to teach your people of how to handle sensitive information. Security personnel is having dedicated security personnel who are responsible for the company's security. So you run a small business, you have 10 or 20 employees. Somebody is like your CISO, that your chief information security officer, and maybe you don't have a CISO. So maybe it'll be your IT guy, or maybe you need to hire a part-time CISO. There are companies like ours who provide CISO as a service. This is a person who's external to your organization, but they're going to fulfill the role of a CISO, of thinking about all the issues of compliance and of data protection and manage that within your organization. So part of HIPAA compliance is that there's a go-to guy. There's a person who is responsible for your data security. Number four here is access management, which are policies to authorize, establish, and modify access to EPHI, to the electronic personal health information, including signing in of third parties. So we're going to talk more about access control in a future slide. So let me go on. Okay, physical safeguards. You have an office. You may have workers who work remotely, but they sometimes work in the office. So this involves protecting the physical access to systems and devices that store or protect the data. So people have a workstation. Their workstation that has access to healthcare data need to be secure. There's device locking, device encryption, screen timeouts. A person can't leave their desk with, with open access to their computer. That is a violation of protocol. That would be a violation of HIPAA. Device and media control, control of the movement of devices that have access to the PHI. So there's something called a mobile device manager, right? If this data is accessible on your employee's phone or whatever other devices, their laptop, so there has to be management of device control. Okay. Technical safeguards. Technical safeguards deal with the technology and digital controls used to protect and control access. So access control is unique user ideas and IDs and login credentials. And before I go any further, I want to share something here on this slide from the world of cyber, and that's called the CIA triad. And the CIA triad is C is for confidentiality, the secrecy of the data. I is for the integrity of the data. We're going to see integrity controls, that people aren't coming in and tampering with the data. And A is accessibility, that you have access to your data. If somebody hit you with ransomware and they locked your data until you pay them ransom, so you do not have access, you've lost your accessibility. So the basic concept of data security includes confidentiality, integrity, and accessibility. And so that's sort of what we're talking about here, from 10,000 feet, the technical safeguards that are controlling access, the audit controls. Audit controls means we are logging all the activity on the network to record who accessed what and when and how. And this will help us to detect breaches, to remediate breaches, and to know the extent of the damage in case of a breach, which, as we said, needs to be reported to the proper authorities. Integrity controls means that the data has not been improperly altered or destroyed or tampered with in any way. Authentication, verifying that people or systems accessing the PHI are who they claim to be, whether using biometrics or a special device key or multi-factor authentication. They get a one-time password on their phone. Authentication is, of course, a cornerstone of data security. And the last topic here is transmission security. This data moves around, whether it's to the hospitals or to doctors or to the insurance companies or between your staff and your network. So it's important that in the transmission of the data that everything is encrypted. So the PHI needs to be encrypted when it's transmitted over open networks to prevent interception. So whether you're using Google Workspace or Microsoft or AWS. So you need to have a BAA, a business associate agreement, that the data you're transmitting through these huge suppliers, you need to have a BAA with them. You have a signed agreement, and they will supply you with that. But that's part of managing your HIPAA compliance. Okay. Let's talk about actual threats that you're facing. And like I said, compliance is great and important, and it's usually what brings people to the table because otherwise they'd rather ignore cybersecurity. But besides compliance, there's the real dangers. There's the threats that are out there that can frankly kill you. They can put you out of business. Most of the small businesses that undergo a serious cyber attack, within 6 months, they're out of business. So it's worthwhile investing in your compliance as a means of getting yourself truly protected. So healthcare facilities face a wide range of cyber threats, making it essential to stay alert and prepared for potential risks. So ransomware, where the hackers are coming in and locking your data, not giving you access to it until you pay them a large sum of money. Important backups are really important. If you have a copy of all your data that they don't have access to, so you're pretty well protected from ransomware. That's for starters. Phishing is a well-known topic. They're getting passwords or information to get into your system by sending you emails or links or things that people on your staff may click on when they shouldn't. So you need to, that's part of training your staff not to click and not to fall for phishing campaigns and so forth. Insider threats, there's bad guys working for you also sometimes. So that's part of your auditing and your logging and seeing what people are doing within the organization to make sure that there's not foul play going on. And then the last, lost or stolen devices. A well-meaning employee could leave a device somewhere, and then the bad guys would have access to it. So these are real threats that are, again, part both of compliance as well as part of protecting yourself against the bad actors. The cost of getting it wrong. Okay. So besides the cyber attack itself, law enforcement, in this case, HIPAA, there are penalty tiers. The average cost of recovery for a small business is between $36,000 and $50,000. And like I said, 60%, it says here, of small businesses close within 6 months of a breach. So it's a sad way to go out of business. So looking at this nice colorful graphic, the first tier, the covered entity did not know and could not know reasonably about the breach. So then each violation, that means each patient's record, okay, which was PHI, personal health information, they're going to pay $100 up to $60,000 per violation, okay? In the second tier, so they knew or that by exercising reasonable diligence, they would have known the violation. They did not act with willful neglect, so it's between 1,000 and 60,000. The third tier, they acted with willful neglect and corrected the problem within a 30-day time period, 12,000 to 60. And the fourth tier, the covered entity acted with willful neglect and failed to make a timely correction, so they're in big trouble. There have been, $5 million penalties that large organizations have had to pay for HIPAA violations. So you don't want to be there. You want to be HIPAA compliant. Again, I'm mostly talking to small businesses that you're not a hospital, but you're doing business, whether with a nursing home or a hospital. So you are an associated entity, a business associate, it's called. And so you need to do what you need to do to comply. So how are you going to do it? So how to get ahead of HIPAA and the hackers. These are, generalities of how to protect your business from a cybersecurity perspective. So you need to conduct routine security risk assessments. And again, that's something that a cybersecurity provider can help you do. It doesn't have to be very costly. You need to implement safeguards. You have to have policies and rules and train your employees, invest in employee training. You have to have an incident response plan. What are we going to do if? And do not assume that your IT guy who knows how to connect the network and keep the router, keep people's internet connection running, that person has the expertise and the training and the understanding to provide all your cybersecurity needs, because they often don't. We're familiar with a number of really great IT companies that don't even claim to know much about cyber. So they need you, the business owner, to bring in another party who's going to provide your cybersecurity posture and who's going to get you compliant and really going to take care of you to protect you from damage. So there's some great free or affordable tools to help you with your HIPAA compliance. I'm going to try to show you one briefly here. The HHS is Health and Human Services Security Risk Assessment Tool. This is free. It helps small to medium-sized practices perform a security risk assessment as required under HIPAA. And I have it open on my computer. Let me share that with you. Okay. So this is from the Assistant Secretary for Technology Policy, official website of the US, basically, a security risk assessment tool. So this is a free thing that they're trying to help you make a risk assessment. What are your risks as a business? The basics of HIPAA. So again, this is a website of the government that can help you begin the pathway of HIPAA compliance. So I wanted to show that to you. Go back to my presentation. Other tools that are relevant, HIPAA Mate is an affordable HIPAA compliance platform for small businesses. They're, a business, but they are, reasonably priced and they can help you. And here's another thing from the Health and Human Services Security Training, provides foundational knowledge on HIPAA rules and regulations. including trading games, risk assessment tools, and other educational aids. So there's some things out there. If you're the kind of person you want to take the bull by the horns and work out on yourself, you're gonna need some external skills and certifications and expertise to get you all the way there. But for sure, you can begin to take positive steps towards HIPAA compliance through using these online tools that are provided by the government for free. Okay. I'm happy that there's a few people here live. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to take your questions. Do you have any questions? Okay. Um, so if no further questions, I thank you for attending. We're here. If you would like to, we'd be happy to hold your hand and walk you through the HIPAA compliance process. We'll hear about your business, what you're doing, the scope of it, and come up with a plan, how much it's going to cost you, how long it's going to take, and so forth. And so we'd be happy to reach out to you or hear from you about where you're holding in this process and how we could help you. Sarah, any closing words? Okay, thank you very
Thank you
much.
so
Thanks for
much.
being here. Have a real nice day.